Welcome to toy-polloi.
Hello and welcome to another video from toy-polloi. In today's video we are going to be restoring two vintage Palitoy Space 1999 dolls. On the left we have Commander John Koenig and on the right we have the mysterious alien. Now both of these figures have been very kindly donated to me by Peter, and if you've watched my channel you'll know that I absolutely love Space 1999, and this was the last doll I needed, was Commander John Koenig. So this is a sort of a grail item of mine and I'm really looking forward to getting him back up and sort of looking as good as he possibly can. Let's take a closer look at the figures because they both have a couple of issues. The mysterious alien is probably in the best condition, but as you can see he's got a broken leg. Now this is the very common problem of the knee pins snapping and the leg falling off. You can see it's got one half of the knee pin there, but the other half has snapped and is missing, so we need to repair that. I've not actually looked at the rest of the figure, so there may be some other sort of damage underneath it. In fact, I can just see there that one of the elbows has got a slight crack to it. It's not too serious, it's not sort of broken all the way through, so I'll probably leave that, but we'll check the rest of the body of this figure out when we take the costume off. I can actually see some of the costume is sort of coming apart as well, so that's a fairly straightforward repair. Now John Koenig, you can see, is very well worn and very dirty. Actually most of the paint has come off on his hair, so yeah, there's a lot of sort of paint repair to go on there, and he does have a broken leg. If we fold up this trouser you can see the leg is actually held on with a bit of old sellotape. So I think the first thing we're going to do is take the costumes off these and we'll see what the figures look like underneath, then we can give everything a good clean and start repairing them. We'll start with the mysterious alien because I think there's least wrong with this figure. So the little press stud there has come unsewn, but that, again, that is easy to fix. We've just got to sew that back on. It looks like someone may have already had a go. No, I think that's the original thread, so we just take that off. If we hook that over his shoulders, pull that down, it comes off nice and easily. So yeah, not too much wrong with that costume, just a few little sort of bits of the thread undoing, so we can trim that off and repair the press stud. Then it does have this extra sort of little neck piece, and we can unclip that at the back. Doesn't look like that's ever been removed, I would say. No, I don't think that has. So again, those bits of costume just needs a good clean. And the figure, as we can see, it's not too bad actually. A little bit of dirt on the head, as you would imagine. Then the rest of the figure, yeah, just a broken knee joint, which is certainly very easy to fix. And as I said earlier, there's a slight crack there on the elbow, but not enough to worry about at this point. I do probably have some spare arms, but I think I'll just leave that because it's all hidden by his costume. So that's an easy bit to fix. Then on John Koenig, first up, yeah, all the hair is worn off. The face is very dirty, so give that a clean and then we'll sort of repair the face. We can take his belt off. It does actually come with the comlock, which is pretty lucky because those are often missing. So we'll take that away. Take his costume off. This is just really filthy. I don't know if it's been left somewhere and got that sort of dirt over the years. It must have probably been stored in a loft or something. There's a little bit of mildew, and yeah, hopefully that will clean up quite nicely because they don't make reproductions of this outfit, so we can have to try and clean it and get it as white as we possibly can. I would hope that it will come up reasonably well. We can use a few little tricks to try and sort of ease off some of the dirt, maybe make it look a bit nicer. Actually, I'm going to take his trousers off to get that costume down. So let's pull down his trousers and get that off as well. Actually, the trousers don't look too bad. Dirty, as in is everything else, but the gold trim on the sides is in reasonable condition. It's had a little bit unsewn at the top, so we can just repair that. So remove his outfit like so. So yeah, that's a good clean. And then the body. Actually, the rest of the body, again, there's a slight crack on the elbow joint there. That's a very common area for them to crack, but not broken through, so we'll leave that as is. Other side looks fine. And then we have the damaged leg, but it's held on with tape. So let's remove the tape and just see actually what's broken. It could be it's just broken in the same way with the knee pin broken, but let's remove this old tape and see what happens. Nice lot of sticky old residue there. Yeah, that just looks like that's broken in pretty much the same way, and someone's tried to glue it. I would say there's a bit of glue on there, but yeah, it's just the knee pin has snapped as they always do, so that will be an easy repair. So I think the first thing we're going to do is give everything a good wash. I'm going to wash these figures in some hot soapy water. We'll try and remove all this residue. A bit of lighter fluid should remove that, and once they're all cleaned up, I think they probably start to look a lot better. Then we can start dealing with the paint on the head. And for the outfits, again, I'm going to use some hot soapy water, give them a good rinse as well, and we'll just see what they look like once they're all done. We'll see how white this goes and see how much dirt we can get out of it. And if it doesn't go particularly white, we'll do a bit more cleaning. It looks quite ingrained. You can see there's quite a difference there. That's where the belt has stopped it getting dirt on it, but it should be a lot whiter than this. So let's get washing. Using just hot soapy water, you tend to be able to get most sort of bits of grime and dirt off action figures and dolls like these Palitoy and Mego dolls. I was able to get most of the outfits actually not looking too bad. The white on Koenig's outfit was still looking a tad on the grubby side, I would say. It certainly had a lot of stains on it, so I used another trick, which is to use some denture tablets, the sort of things that you would put false teeth into. That has a mild bleaching agent in it, so I dropped a couple of those tablets into a cup and then added Koenig's uniform into it, and I left it in there for half an hour and then gave it a good rinse. I don't want to try anything stronger than that really, because the fabric is obviously quite old, and also because there's black fabric there, you tend to sort of damage that or sort of bleach that a bit. So the gentle sort of nature of these Sterident denture tablets is actually not too bad. So after half an hour they looked pretty good. I've given them a rinse and they're now drying, so in the meantime we can sort of work on these two figures. The mysterious alien actually, as you can see, came up very clean. All the marks that were on his head came away pretty easily, and Koenig, again, just a good clean of his head has really made quite a difference to that. There is still some sticky residue around his leg. You can see there on his thigh and also on the boot, actually quite clearly there's a sort of bit of a yellow residue. That didn't come off with the hot soapy water, so the trick for that is lighter fluid, and I've shown this many times before. Just a little bit of lighter fluid on I've got just a bit of kitchen towel here, so we squirt a bit of lighter fluid on there, and we can then rub that on the sticky residue, and it should come off quite nicely. This is obviously very old sticky residue, about 40 years I'm guessing, so it's going to need a little bit of sort of persuasion to loosen up, but I think we'll be able to get most of that off. So again, once it dries out, just a little bit more lighter fluid on there, and I think that will come off quite nicely. Yeah, it's shifting. As I say, after 40 years this stuff has sort of really hardened on, but a bit of perseverance. You can see that's starting to come off. So just clean that off both parts of this leg, and then I think we might as well attach the legs again before we start dealing with the paint on Koenig's head. Now for reattaching the knees, in previous videos I've shown how I would use another pin sort of taken out of the leg of a sort of busted up Mego doll to replace that, heating up the plastic so you can push it in place. But in this instance we've got half of one knee pin, we've got the other bit from Koenig's one where it's all sort of glued in, and I don't actually have any sort of spares in my spares pot. So what I've done is, if you go to the Dr. Mego website, you can buy replacement knee pins. So I've bought a pack of those and they've just arrived, and this is them. They're supposedly a very good fit. I've never actually tried them before, so this is a new one to me. You can buy a pack like this. I think there's supposed to be 5 or 6 in this pack. I think I've got 6 here. I think it was supposed to be 5, so they obviously give you a couple of extra ones, and you can see that they do match the original pins in the sort of shape pretty well, but the colour I have to say is quite off. They're much more flesh toned, so I'm going to try and use half of this original one on Koenig, and we'll drop in the pin part from this lighter one. I might give that a coat of paint though, just to sort of make it match a bit better. I know this is going to be hidden under trousers, but yeah, it's a shame that they're just a little bit too light, but let's give them a go. As I say, I've never tried them before, so let's try them on the mysterious alien first. So you've got 2 parts of this knee pin. You've got the little inner peg and the outer sort of sheath, so we put that through the inside of the knee. Let's just push that in place, then we can drop on the lower leg. We'll take the pin and we push that in, and it should just sort of pin in place. Yeah, there you go. That's really easy, and that's that knee repaired. So as you can see, it doesn't actually look too bad. As I say, the colour's a little bit off, but I think with a coat of paint that should be fine, and mostly these are going to be hidden under trousers. Certainly he's got his sort of purple cape on, and with Koenig we'll use this original inner section, so we'll drop that back in there. You can put the knee over. Actually I can see a little bit of plastic on that, which is probably why this has sort of come apart, so let's trim that off in the meantime. You can see where it sort of failed in the moulding, or there's a bit too much plastic gone through. So I'll just cut that away, just to make this okay, easily done. Now let's try putting this in place. So as I say, the original inner piece there, we'll pop that over. We'll take one of the pins and we'll push that in. Hopefully that will click in place as well. It may be that these don't work on the old figure sort of inner bits. Certainly doesn't feel like that's going to push in place. No, okay. So let's try replacing every part of this. So I'm going to take that pin out. We'll get a new one of those, drop that in, pop that over, we'll push that together. No, that's not working either. I think this knee is actually slightly too wide, you know, there's not enough, yeah, I think there's a little bit too much plastic there, which is why these won't clip together. So I'm just going to trim some of this down and see if we can get that to fit a bit better. So this is proving a little bit trickier than I thought. I was hoping it would just sort of clip in place like the other one did, but it just doesn't want to. I actually managed to break, as you can see here, one of the replacement pins just by sort of pushing it in too hard, and it's snapped. It's just a really tricky joint, and I can see why this has broken. So I'm going to try and replace it now with an all sort of new set of the knee pins. We'll push that one in place. We'll put that over. Here's another pin, and we'll push that in place. See if that will work. It just doesn't want to do it. It's just ever so slightly too tight, and I've trimmed quite a bit off already, but I think I might have to trim some more. So I'm just using a pair of pliers to push that into place. Now you can see it just doesn't want to go, so a little bit more trimming is needed to just give slightly more space to this knee pin, and then we can try again. But as you can see, it's proving to be a little bit tricky. After much tinkering, you can see I actually managed to get this leg back on and working. I had to trim a little bit more plastic off the white boot, and also do a little bit sort of a modification just on the inside there, because it seems that there's just too much plastic there, and every time I was sort of pushing the pin in, the sort of tension was pulling the pin back out again. So I think these boots are slightly different to the black ones there, but you can see that's now pretty firmly in place. That's the original one, so just a moulding error. I wonder if that's why you often see these with broken legs, because there's just sort of slight moulding errors when they came to make them. But as you can see, his leg is now back on, so we can get to work on touching up the paint on his head. I don't think the mysterious alien needs any work on his head, because he doesn't really have a great deal of paint there. It's all sort of plastic and moulded, but on Koenig, as you can see, we've got quite a lot of work to do. For painting Koenig's hair and eyebrows, I'm going to be using Humbrol acrylics. These are the paints that I like to use, and you'll have seen me use these in lots of restoration projects here on this channel. Now the finish on his hair is not really gloss and it's not really matte. It does look a little bit shiny there, but the gloss finish is way shinier than that. So what I'm going to be doing is actually just mixing the gloss and the matte paints together. Number 33 is a matte black and number 21 is a gloss black. And if you mix the two together, we'll end up with a finish that looks a lot like the original sort of sheen that you get here. You can see it is quite shiny, but not sort of gloss shiny. And as I say, just mix the two types together and it will get a match that looks pretty good once it's dry. So on the left here I have gloss and on the right I have matte. You can see there's absolutely no difference when they're in this stage. But we'll just mix them together and we'll end up with something that looks the business. And I'm going to be using this for both the hair and for the eyebrows. I've got two types of brushes. I've got a thick brush and I've got a very thin brush here. So I'm just going to mix all of this together and we'll get going. While we wait for the paint to dry on Koenig's hair, we can go on and do some more repairs on the uniform. As you can see, this is Koenig's uniform. It's come back after being washed. It's a lot cleaner. There's still a few stains and marks on it, and it's certainly not white, but overall it is actually a lot cleaner and a lot lighter. Now the Sterodent tablet has worked pretty well in sort of doing a gentle bleaching. When I took the uniform out of the Sterodent liquid, actually quite a lot of black had come off the uniform, so that's why I don't want to do much more sort of bleaching to it, because I think we're going to end up damaging the black on the sort of upper part of his uniform. So for now, I think that's about as good as we're going to get. You can see it's sort of started to match. Actually, there was quite a white patch under the belt, and that is now sort of even out. So it's much more of that tone. And I think, to be honest, I think that's going to look pretty nice once it's back on the figure. It's a little bit stained, but it certainly does the job. There's a few little repairs that we need to do here. You can see on the back the stitching has started to come undone where the elastic is held in place, and also the stitching that holds the gold striping has just sort of come undone a bit at the top. So I'm going to put a few stitches in just to hold that in place. And on the Mysterious Aliens outfit, the press stud, as we saw, was coming loose. So again, a few stitches on that. I think that's about all that one needs. There's nothing that I can see particularly wrong with that. It looks in very good condition. So we'll get this bits of sewing done, then we can put the figures back together. A few simple stitches later and the uniforms are ready to go, and that's given the paint time to dry on Koenig's head. And as you can see, the finish by mixing the gloss and the matte paints together gives you a very nice sort of sheen. Gloss on its own, as I say, it's just too glossy, but I think this mix works really nicely, and it's amazing what a difference just touching up the paint on the head of this figure has done, because it looked really quite rough beforehand, and now with the paint in place that looks as good as new. So we can get on and put the uniforms on. We'll start with the Mysterious Alien. He has this little collar that goes around his neck. This is often missing because I guess kids take the uniforms off and sort of mess around with them, and that bit gets lost. So if you have one of these Mysterious Aliens, make sure he has the collar. Then we can put the main cape on, and actually on the cape he may have these huge sort of bat wings, but there's a tiny little bit at the top which is sewn into a loop, and that's actually where his hands need to go through. So we'll put this cape on and make sure that the hands go through those little loops so that the sleeves look correct. So let's get this figure dressed. So you go up And put the sleeves on, and you can see here, this is what I mean, there's just a little loop there that those hands go through just to make the cape look a little bit better. Do the same on this side. This one I had to repair because the stitch had come out, so hopefully I've done it with enough gap. Yeah, there we go. Pop that over his head. The press stud is repaired as well. Still a few straggly bits of thread there, so I'll just trim those off. And we can button this up. And rearrange it. There we go. He is looking smart now. Legs attached, uniform or robes repaired. He's ready to go. We'll do the same with Koenig now. I think with Koenig we'll put his top on first, and for that you actually have to put his legs through the top. Now Koenig does come with a belt and gun, which were luckily on this figure. You can buy replacements of these, and I did actually pick up some when I ordered the spare knee pins, just because I have some other figures I want to sort of make custom uniforms for. And they do also make reproductions of this tiny little comlock. But let's put this original belt back on, and that should look the part. Just sort of finishes the uniform off nicely, and we can clip his comlock on the belt there. And there we go, that's Koenig all back together. And here are the completed figures. I brought in the rest of my collection because I know a lot of people have been asking to see what the full set of these Palitoy Space 1999 figures look like. And here is a full set. It's taken me probably about 25 years to complete this, and I have to say there's still a few reproduction bits in there because there's some areas that I've not managed to find originals of. But it doesn't matter because as a set they look amazing. So John Koenig, as you can see, is now looking ready to display. I think he's certainly good enough to go on the display here at toy-polloi. The uniform is a little bit dirty still, but that doesn't matter because I think it's, you know, considering this toy is nearly 45 years old, I think he's actually standing up remarkably well considering how sort of rough and ready he was when he turned up here. And as you can see, he stands pretty nicely next to Paul Morrow, who the bottom part of Paul Morrow, his trousers, that's a reproduction, so those are minty white, and the top is an original one, so you can see that actually matches pretty reasonably to the vintage top. The reproduction trousers are super white, as you can see, but overall I think it looks really nice. And as I say, this is my sort of full collection. It's taken me a very long time to complete all of these. There's still a few little bits I need to find, and there's one variant I need to finish off as well, because Captain Zantor there in the back, there are two versions of him. The one I have here has blonde hair. You can see that's got a slight sort of blonde tinge to it, and there is another version of him where he has sort of completely white hair, and so far I've managed to get the figure, so you can see this has a white hair, but I don't have a uniform for him, so he's currently sporting a spare Alan Carter spacesuit just so that he looks half decent, but as you can see I need to get the rest of his uniform. But it's a strange little variant, that, just the fact that it's got much whiter hair, not really that much difference, but if you want to be a completist and have all of them, then that's one that you need to look out for. So there you go. I want to say a massive thank you to Peter, who very kindly donated these two figures to my collection, and they've been really fun to restore. I do like working on these Mego and Palitoy style figures. Repainting the heads is actually pretty easy to do if you get the right paint mixes, but it does make a real difference when they're as worn and sort of have as many rubs as Commander Koenig did have on his hair, because it just looks quite rough, but as soon as you paint the hair back on, he looks really lovely. I think I did the same on my Alan Carter as well, because I know that had a lot of paint rubs on it. So yeah, it's an easy thing to do, and it makes quite a big difference to the figure. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, then make sure to tap the subscribe button and also tap the bell to be notified each time I upload a new video. And thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching toy-polloi. Subscribe for more great videos. You can also follow toy-polloi on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.